for IIBA Sydney. And today we are here to have a session on how to be a perfect PA. I would like to welcome everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as part of our Are You OK Day, I hope everyone is okay in Sydney or every place in Australia. I would like to do an acknowledgement of the country. So IIBA Australia acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present with us today. Welcome all. So, thanks for joining our meeting session, and we'll be going ahead with some of the updates. I would like to hand over to our IIBA Sydney branch chair, Susan, to give some updates about IIBA. Over to you, Susan. You're on mute.
Welcome, everyone. There are three major updates I would like to announce from IIBA before we start the interesting talk by Craig on how to become a perfect BA. The first one is for the first time in IIBA history, we are going to have 4 new categories of awards to be awarded towards the end of the year. It is BA Analysis Practice of the Year, BA Analysis Project of the Year, Dr. Cecilia McDougall Business Analyst of the Year Award, and also for the new BA Emerging Business Analyst of the Year Award. So the nomination will close on the 27th of September. So please just submit your nomination in the link below. Go to the Australian IIBA website and then submit your nomination. So this is the first time, and we will announce the winner towards the end of the year, probably in November. And then subsequently, of course, like normal, the next slide, IIBA will have lots of events that's coming. It's a calendar full of events for the next few months. So in September, Brisbane, Perth, and Melbourne all have their own 2 in-person events and 1 online event in Melbourne towards the end of September. And then in October, we also have 3 online events. So it's a very, very busy October in terms of online events. Especially in Sydney, we have the Working with Lawyers on project. We are privileged to have 2 Westpac lawyers to talk about how to work with lawyers as a BA. And finally, in Brisbane, our Agile Analysis Study Group will be starting soon. So for those who want to join, yeah, please scan and then join. So yes, back to Vimal.
Thank you, Suzanne. So as we are eagerly waiting for today's session, I would like to introduce you all with the speaker, Craig Hopper. Craig is an expert in the future of leadership, mainly compassionate leadership. He focuses on the growth and innovation. He has over 30 years of career in businesses, and he has spoken for audiences all over the world, including thousands of crowd in ICC here in Sydney. Craig lives in Sydney, is a father, husband, carer, and a slave to his cat, Timmy. I hope we will see the Timmy's face soon. And the topic for today is how to be a perfect BA according to a product owner. Without delaying too much, I will hand over to Craig to continue for the session. Thank you, Craig.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Vimal. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everybody. Good evening and happy, if that's the right thing to say, Are You OK Day. So I love to run an interactive session. I love to see everybody's smiling face if possible. So the more energy you give me, the more that I'll give back in return. So I'd actually like to start by getting people a little bit active here. So can you jump on the chat, open up the chat? I'd like everyone to say happy Are You OK Day to everybody else, and tell me and tell everybody else where you're joining us from tonight. Whereabouts in Australia are you? I am in Camaray. You don't need to speak. You pop it in the chat. I'm in Camaray, joining you tonight. Timmy, the Wonder Cat, is in fact asleep on the ironing board at night, so he sends his apologies for tonight's session. While you're doing that, I will take control of the screen. Oh, I cannot while the other part, oh, now I can. So, share screen. There we go. Okie dokes. All good. So let's see what I can do. Actually, bear with me just a sec. I'm gonna move this to my other screen. Just bear with me a sec. Get out of the way. There we go. And up we go again. Slideshow. Resume share. Are you guys seeing the screen? Yes? Yep. Thumbs up? Thumbs up. Awesome. Okie dokes. Let's go. So, tonight's topic is how to be the perfect BA as far as a product owner is concerned. So, let me not do that. Yikes, where's it gone? There it is. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm having a IT moment. Excuse me. Let's get that out of there. Sorry, I've got two screens going here and one of them is not behaving. All right, we're going back the other way. Okay. Off we go again.
Meanwhile, Craig, you take that screen adjustment. We got a lot of people replying. They are all happy with Are You OK? And calling from various places in Australia.
Excellent. All right, we're good. We're good to go now, folks. Sorry about the fiddle. Right. So, what you're going to learn tonight is what POs need from BAs, and I'm going to break this down into what I call hard skills and soft skills. And then I'll also take you through what I'd consider the 3 biggest derailers that you really want to avoid. So first things first, let's explore what the BA does. So again, I like a good interactive session. So folks, can you share with me, because you guys are the experts, you've been trained by the wonderful people here at IIBA, tell me what you think the BA does. Just top 3 things, pop it in the chat, please. All right, we've got enabling change, resolving problems, requirement solicitation, elicit requirements, document issues, facilitation, document change management, recommend solutions, love it. Acting as a SME, solving problems, building relationships, absolutely. Absolutely. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. There's no way I can keep up with it. Now, I took the liberty of talking to the head of the BA Guild at Cochlear, where I work, and asked him to summarise what he felt the core, I guess, of the BA role is. And this is what he came up with. I'm sure these are included in what I'm seeing on the chat here tonight. So we have overseeing end-to-end iterative shaping of ideas or requirements. We've got that complementary partnering with the squad or the tribe members, depending on how things are set up where you're working. Then there's the participation in and provision of strategic thinking and focusing on business outcomes. Communication is huge in everything that we do. Then we've got the foundations, I guess, of the BA role. So requirements gathering, validation, prioritization, analysis, solution evaluation, etc. And then we've got the agile, I guess the agile flavor on that, depending on what methodology you're following. So we've got requirements modeling, visualization, decomposition, and then all the documentation into the appropriate epic stories, acceptance criteria, etc. So there's a lot of what I would call hard skills in the BA world. And you guys, you're doing that at work, you're improving your craft through the training you're getting here. And I guess this community of practice that you've got in IIBA. But then, as we all know, BAs don't exist in isolation. The BA is an incredibly important component part of a greater whole. And what I do at work is I'm a PO. I've been a product owner for a number of years now. In fact, I'm now looking after, I think, well, directly I'm looking after a number of different products and a number of POs, but I'm also heading up the product owner guild at Cochlear, the hearing implant company. So we've got probably 30, depending on how you count them, product owners across the company globally. So I've obviously got a different lens when I look at things. I'm incredibly biased, as all good product owners are, biased towards my product, biased towards my team. But I've also had the luxury and the honor and the pleasure of working with a number of really outstanding BAs over the years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some of the hard and soft skills that I felt really made a difference to us as squads and to me as a PO. But before we get into that, the next role I think we need to explore is actually that of the PO. So what I'd like you guys to do now is tell me a bit, oops, a little too quick. Tell me a bit about what you guys, from your perspective, what you see the POs doing. What do you think the PO role is all about? Pop it on the chat, please, folks. Yep, we've got vision of the product, managing delivery, prioritizing the backlog, acting as the voice of the customer, creating value. Yes, thank you. Product roadmaps, big picture thinking, articulate the vision of the product. Yes. Managing stakeholders' expectation. We try. Improving product performance. Absolutely. Haven't seen pay for pizza. Yeah, I have done that a couple of times. We've even had sushi. We went out for hot pot back in the days before COVID. Haven't seen anybody mention the OKRs yet, but we generally get tied up in them quite a bit. Satisfy customer needs, absolutely. Representing the customer, well, we all do, but certainly that's a core part of the PO role. Excellent. Keep them coming. Now, by the way, folks, I didn't mention this at the beginning. Please, as I said, I love a good interactive session, so please feel free to ask questions at any stage in this. This is supposed to be a value for you. So the more information that's targeted that I can give you, the better. So pops, now I probably can't keep up with the chat. I'll try as best I can to do that. You can pop questions in the chat. Even easier if you put your hand up, and I'll ask you to come off mute and pop your camera on, preferably, if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask at any stage. I really don't mind. So,
Craig, I can help to monitor if there is questions. I'll highlight them. Yeah.
Super duper. Thank you so much. So here we go back to this. So the classic definition, or I guess my also flavor on what do POs do? Well, we prioritize the backlog. We develop the product vision, maximizing business value through the way that we prioritize that backlog. We keep the squad busy on valuable work. we make an awful lot of decisions and we're clarifying direction constantly. We're reviewing, communicating, and hopefully improving those OKRs. And then we're communicating with the stakeholders. So there's, if I'm really honest, probably about 50% of my time as a PO is spent, I guess, with the squad or in the squad, doing the first 5 on that list. And then I'd say about 50% of my time is spent focusing outside the squad, whether that's understanding customer needs, and participating in that two-way communication with the stakeholders, and I guess gathering that understanding for where things are headed, what's working, what's not, and then bringing people along on the journey and having that, I guess, iterative discussion to continuously iterate that the roadmap, the requirement, or not the requirements, but the roadmap, the vision, and ensure that we've got people coming along on the ride with us. Okay, so we've got an understanding of the, I guess, the basics of the BA, the basics of the PO. So now what I ask you to do is to take yourself, I guess, out of the BA world and actually try to put yourself into the world of the PO, because that's really what I'm talking about here. Is whilst we're all equals in a squad, I have my incredibly blinkered view of the world as a PO, and the topic of tonight's talk is how to be a perfect BA from the product owner's perspective. So try if you can, immerse yourself into this world here. Constant decisions, constant communication both ways, prioritization. Let's be honest, I've never worked in a squad where demand did not exceed supply. So it's that constant need to prioritize. And I guess, you know, they certainly what they taught us back when I was doing product owner training is that the most powerful tool that the product owner has, and the one that they need to use the most often, is actually the word no. So that's the world that we live in. So as a BA, how can you help us product owners, and therefore the squad, to deliver that value for our customers and for our stakeholders in the business, and I guess get us to where we need to be quicker in order for us to then have the breathing space to take it to the next level. So how do BAs help POs? Well, that's exactly what they do. They help, right? This is a piece of teamwork. We're all, at the end of the day, we're all equals in the same squad. So when the BA and the PO work well together, magic happens. It really does. It's almost like we can read each other's minds, and you develop really good partnerships when you work together as a PO and a BA over time. And as I said at the beginning, I've had the luck or the honor or whatever you'd call it to work with some really outstanding BAs over the years. So what I'd like to do is now tell you some of the things that they did and that we did together that really worked. So to me, the key things that a BA can bring to the squad and to the PO in order to really help us deliver that value and deliver outstanding results for our customers and our stakeholders. The BA is the key source normally for the PO in providing data. They help the PO with options when making decisions, and then they bring energy and a fantastic attitude to the whole thing. So I'm going to step you through each one of these one by one, and we'll dig into what this really means in terms of hard and soft skills, and then also some of those derailers. Again, please don't be shy on this one. So pipe up at any time, and Susan, let me know if anyone's got a question at any stage. So first one. So data, as we all know, or I hope we all know, data beats opinions. Hands down, every time. One of the biggest challenges, though, so the theory says that when making decisions, data beats opinions. If it comes down to an opinion, then the PO has the opinion that counts, theoretically. There's also this other wonderful phrase, the hippo, which is the highest paid opinion. So POs come up against hippos quite a lot. And it can get quite tricky when you're dealing with lots of opinions that come from people called vice president. Just a sec, Mars, I'll be with you. So the more data you have, the easier it is to avoid an opinion-based decision. And I can tell you sometimes in a day as a PO, you might be making 40 decisions, or like not many of them are massive, but if it's a day where you're doing refinement or there's a lot going on, there's things going on all the time. Now, a lot of this is informed by the product vision or your understanding, but a lot of this will be questioned later on, and it's that data that's really going to help. I'll pause now. So there's a question. If you want to just come off mute and ask away. Hello.
Good evening. Hello. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can.
Okay, fantastic. Good evening, everybody. My question though, if I tend to fall in this trap lately where during elicitation, when I'm gathering the requirements, understanding the business needs and obtaining that requirements, so then we can define the future state. I'm getting stuck I'm put in a position where it should be the business or whoever I'm during that elicitation, the subject matter experts, my stakeholders, etc., will be the one providing the business needs and the business requirements. It gets where I get stuck at times. The PO provides me the requirements, and then there's too much where it gets a little bit confusing, because at the end of the day, it's the business asking for the needs and the requirements, correct? So I absolutely am fine when the PO has an opinion, that's what they're there for. I always involve them in all my elicitation, just so they're part of the journey from end to end. But when it gets to the point where there's a lot of they're bringing in the requirements rather than coming from the business, there's that. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Oh, so it does completely. So we POs have opinions just like everybody, and I think this is where you need to couch, if possible, what you're providing as data or validated input. So I guess, I don't know, like, it's the devil's in the detail, right? But as POs, often we think we're right, and that's not always true, right? So it's being able to bring as much to bear as possible to provide as much context or as much, I guess, validity or robustness to what you're bringing, in order to provide an option or a counter, perhaps, to avoid heading down, I guess, a bunny hole, or getting stuck in what I guess is an opinion-led design. I don't know what other expert. I try to really hard to let people stick to their expert roles. So I don't know if you've got UX or anything like that in the squad.
Well, once I've created the business requirements document and it's been reviewed and approved by all relevant stakeholders, and then later on the PO will have other suggestions to add into the requirements. So now that's more work for me. Now I have to rewrite the requirements, and I'm going to have to get approvals again. Do you get what I'm saying? That there has to be.
I hear what you're saying. I am going to touch on some of this a bit later. So if you just pause that, and we'll come back to it. I've got 3 hands up, 2 of whom have IIBA on them. I think you were first, Brianna.
Okay, I guess you will probably answer my question down the track anyway, but when I'm looking at the slide, data beats opinion, I fully agree, data beats opinion, but beats is a little bit of a confronting word. So how are you going to bring to us some hints how to use data without the beating?
So I'm a provocative person, right? So as a PO, that's my style as a PO. I have a lot of, as I said, I get to talk to a lot of people called vice president all day long, and they tend to have very strong opinions. So that's why I'm using this emotive word. I think the graphic is probably more appropriate. Data is greater than opinions. So if that helps you feel more comfortable, then let's go with that. I guess if I dig into this in a second, you can tell me if I've answered it or not. So how does the BA participate in this process? So the majority of the data and those requirements, which are a form of data doesn't just have to be numbers. They are elicited in a I guess normally a fairly process-driven way or structured way by the BA and perhaps other members of the squad in order to provide that data to inform decisions. Now, it's really important when we do this that we share the assumptions and the sources on this stuff, because we've got, I like to say, questions are free and answers cost money. So if I said, let's say we're in the marketing area and we are talking about leads, and we might want to know what percentage of the leads that were generated through a particular channel ended up becoming sales qualified leads. That sounds like a simple question. You could spend, maybe I could say, about 5%. That might be good enough. Or I might need that down to 2 decimal places. Now, it's really important that the BA understands from the PO, or understands the context that these decisions are being made in order to understand the degree of accuracy that's required here. Is this a throwaway number? If you bump into the CEO in the lift and he says, what's conversion rate for last month? And you're like, 2.5%. He's like, great. If it's, I don't know, the marketing director, they might want to know it down to 2 decimal places. So we know that informed decisions based on data are without too much luck involved, are generally going to be better than opinions. Now, opinions can always get lucky, and some people are experts and they know more. But if we want to take this over the long term, if we're making data-driven decisions, we're going to come out better. So I think it's that, you can always find exceptions, but this is about the long run, and this is about, feature after feature, or story after story, release after release. When we do this, if we hold true to the method, we will advance more effectively. Our velocity should improve and our OKRs should improve, and then we will build trust in the organization. At the same time, I can tell you as a PO, it's incredibly exhausting making 40 decisions in a day. If I can take that 40 down to 25 because I've got data, then I've got more energy to apply to those 25, because the other ones are comfortable, because we know that we did an A/B test and option A beat option B, hands down. That's a great outcome for everybody. Did that answer your question enough?
It wasn't so much a question. It was more about if you can elaborate and talk to us how, I think Vimal said challenge opinions. So how as BAs, we can work together with the POs so that we constructively challenge opinions and achieve positive experience in the team and positive outcomes for the organization. That's and I'm sure that you will be touching on that in the soft skills.
Yes. Okay, so hang tight, because I am a little conscious of time. Susan, you've got one.
It was more, there were some questions. What's the definition? What's OKR?
Oh, sorry, objectives and key results. So in an agile method, most products have what these. So I guess it's a new fancy way of saying KPIs. It's slightly different, but an objective is the overall high level objective goal.
Yeah.
Using the same word. And then within an objective, you would have key results, which should be measurable. So this is your scorecard as a product, and as a product owner, we'd be I guess, pursuing these objectives and key results and reporting out on them and hoping to see them go in the right direction.
Okay. The other question is probably, it is asked, it say, what's the best software to draw the big picture of the requirement? I don't know whether that's in what context, but yeah. Do you have software that
look,
besides backlog?
Look, obviously we have all our, we use Jira like everybody else, but I think, that's when you've gotten a certain way. I tend to like using these days, because I do most of my stuff online because it's a global company, using tools like Miro or Mural or something like that generally is the way that we elicit these, break down things into story maps or whatever the process that we're using at a time. The tool isn't that important, to be honest. To me, it's the conversation and the context and the people who are participating. So I am going to push on here because I've got a bit more to get through. So the derailers, the important things. So bad data. So a data driven decision is only as good as the data that it relies upon. So everybody makes mistakes. We're all human. There can be bad data in systems. We're not perfect. It's important, though, to test some of this stuff. It depends on the importance of the decision. As I said, questions are free, answers cost money, but you need to understand the value that's being driven by this decision and test some of these assumptions as you go along. And I think that's where I head into the second one here, which is those hidden assumptions. So it's really important to share those assumptions and the sources of things. Because if something changes, we need to change our decision. So number 2 was options and assessment. So very few things in a product world or a squad are what I'd call black and white. Normally we're operating somewhere in the middle, in the shades of grey. So as a squad, we're faced with options. I like to think in terms of sort of good, better, best a lot, because I think to some of the question that Mars was referring to previously, I would say that sounds to me like a good, better, best discussion. So again, in the agile world, we want to release in small increments and improve. And it sounds to me like the more of these requirements or opinions that are being piled on, the greater the risk there is that we're going to blow out the size of the release, and we're going to delay the release, and therefore we delay the time that it's going to take for us to actually understand what works and what doesn't. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we think; it matters what happens when we release a product to the market or to the users. So what's the BA doing in here? So this is about helping the PO with a structured basis for making some of these decisions and making some of these comparisons and making them transparent to the stakeholders, because there's nothing stakeholders like better than to question a decision that's being made or to understand why they didn't get the feature or the the particular favorite widget that they were after. So what we're talking about here is some form of structure, right? So everything, or almost everything, comes down to a trade-off, obviously, between the benefit and the cost or the time, if you're working with a fixed squad. So what you need, if possible, you want to be providing a structure that allows you to measure or assess both the benefit or the likely benefit of any particular feature, and then the cost or the time or effort for the squad or the squads in order to deliver these particular features. And that's where we get to what I like to call this good, better, best comparison. Now, the method suggests that we should actually start with good. So what, that MVP approach, but there's obviously different flavors. One person's MVP is very different to another's. Now, at the opposite end of the scale is what I call that lack of options. So that's where you're painted into a corner, where you've only got, or as a PO, you're only presented with one possible option. There's not much you can do with that, other than kind of sending it back for more analysis or another go round in terms of the squad shaping this up or assessing feasible solutions. The other one is that not having a price tag. So everything's great, everybody wants a free Ferrari, right? But not many people are actually prepared to pay what it costs for a Ferrari, which is why we see so few of them driving around on the streets. And then the other thing when you're evaluating or assessing different options is that lack of clarity or lack of transparency. Because again, like I said, with the first thing, with the data and the assumptions, there will be data and there will be assumptions built in to these options. So that structure with the clarity of how robust or how opinion-based these things are can really help the PO in them making a decision if that's what this is about, or making a recommendation if it's a scale of thing that's going to need to go out to a broader or more senior decision-making forum or role within the company. So the BA, at least in my experience, the BA really drives the creation of this comparison or evaluation of different options. And the really, really great BAs that I work with, they're absolutely brilliant at that structure, and that making it, a really good comparison is just really easy for everybody to understand and get, regardless, because we're all immersed in the squad, so we know how we got here. Most of our stakeholders are not and never will be. And in order to bring them along on the journey, the PO really needs to be able to share with them some of these assessments, because it generally involves stakeholders not getting what they want when they wanted it, that we're going to start smaller and assess it, and we might end up taking this in a different direction. All right, pushing on. The third one, energy and attitude. So this is I guess a soft skill in its entirety, but it's if to be honest, I think it's the most important of all of them, because this stuff helps solve just about any problem. So we all know what it's like working with amazing people who really bring it when it counts. We all work hard. We all want to be on top, but we have to also accept that nobody can be on top all of the time. So as we manage our own energy and our own energy timeline, whether that's over a day or a week or a month or a quarter or a year, it's being able to understand the way that you work and really set yourself up for success when it really counts. So, and then it's that service mindset. We talk about servant leadership. I think that's true for everybody in the squad, but likewise, the great BAs really have that service mindset. Everybody in the squad acts in the service of the objectives and the key results and the customer at the end of the day. It's that team player, because I think some of what Marcy were alluding to with your question sounded to me like there was a bit of a challenge potentially in between the two roles, whether that was respect or somebody just wanted to be right all the time.
No, I think because our company, our product owners is not doing what the normal product owner does, which is product manager. Because in our company, the business owner, who is like a business sponsor for our projects or initiatives, they're the one who makes the decision. They're the one who makes the decision on the business needs and the business requirements. And so during elicitation, I always invite my PO, obviously, because, you know, they need to be part of the journey end to end. But when it gets really confusing and challenging at times is when the business owner has a different requirements and need, and then the PO is bringing their requirements and need, but the final decision comes from the business owner, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. Look, and we all live in your world, right? Like, so there are hierarchies, and is somebody like PO has decision rights, or however you whatever word you use in your company for most of these things. But at the same time, we all exist in a company. There are a bunch of people who can overrule me in my product space on a bunch of things, and sometimes we just have to live with it, right? But again, without causing too much hassle, it's okay to, I guess, constructively and respectfully disagree with their opinion. They have the veto or whatever, what the decision rights at the end of the day, and that's fine. But it's important that we can go into that knowingly that, okay, well, you say tomato, I say tomato. If we're going with tomato today, okay, I'll accept your decision. We're part of a team. We'll go with that. But let's keep an open mind. And at the end of the day, let's see what we can do with data in order to find out which one worked better, because any of us can be wrong.
And everyone has different perspectives. So
and that's the thing. Opinion, everyone's got, like, we all know different things. We all come from different backgrounds. We've all had different experiences. And I guess a lot of opinions are equally valid. And that's why we, where possible, we want data. And if not, well, then the organization has agreed decision rights that allow one opinion to supersede others. It has to be that, because the alternate to that is no decision gets made, the squad stalls, and then we're not delivering anything. Because it's okay. It's okay to fail, right? We will never have 100% success with all the features that we release, and that's okay. I guess the smaller we can make them, then the smaller the tests are, and the more comfortable everybody can be with things that don't work out.
There is a question on how the PO ensures the comparable options from BA are not misleading to the outcome.
Well, I think it comes back to, so this can be skewed. I think we've all been party to that, if we're really honest with ourselves. But this will all come back to bite us. So I think that it's a principle here that, again, if we can make it as transparent and as data-driven as possible, I like to show my assumptions. There's always assessments within it. We use Fibonacci numbers for a lot of things where it is, we have experts, right? So when you're assessing the, whatever it is, design complexity or the front end build or the integration complexity of a particular option, that will come down to somebody's opinion. What I try to do is to show where possible the assumption or the assessment of the different opinions. And as long as it's transparent, we can say, look, if you don't agree that whatever, good is a 5, better is an 8, and best is a 13, we're happy to break that down for you. We can get the tech lead in and he or she can explain the thinking behind that. But short of that, this is the basis upon which we are making this decision, we have an assessment that this is whatever it is, 1.5, twice, 3.5 times more complex, and therefore is not justified by a benefit that is not the same order of magnitude bigger than the effort to deliver. But yeah, look, there's always an element of opinion, I guess, or bias within each and everything. We just have to try to minimize it. I don't think we can ever eliminate it.
Okay, we got 15 minutes or 14 minutes.
We're almost there. So in terms of the energy and the attitude, communication. So I think one of the things I love to do with my BA is actually have some one-to-one time with them regularly. So whilst we do as much as possible as the entire squad, when the BA, the PO, depending on who the Scrum Master is, sometimes it's the BA, sometimes it's not, when the 3 of them or the 2 of them can do some pre-shaping and some alignments and really provide that clarity to each other in terms of what does the PO need in order to make that decision, and vice versa, what is the BA seeing and understanding in order to inform the PO of the way this is heading, then the tighter the communication is, and therefore the quicker things can go, the more effective the decision making is, the more clarity that's provided to the squad, and therefore the better the shaping activities are, which leads into refinement, which then leads into a really good set of stories that can come into sprint, which means that the velocity goes up, and it's a beautiful thing. Self-management, no, we can't expect to be able to effectively manage or influence others if we're not actually looking after and managing ourselves. And this is where we have to make sure that we're doing, it's a great message to have on Are You OK Day, is to make sure that we are okay. And if we're not personally, that we're asking for help. Because if there's stuff going on or you're not feeling okay about stuff, then that flows through to everybody else. It's not always easy to share everything, but it's really important to provide a little bit of context to the people around you in order for them to understand, and an understanding can then allow assistance if necessary, or at least just providing a little bit of grace where it's needed. We all have ups and downs, and when we get that support, when the downs happen, it means that we will move back up that curve more quickly and more effectively, and then we can really bring it when it counts. So the derailers, I think, when I think back to the things that have gone wrong, whether it's personally or within the squad, when we do get some of this stuff wrong, particularly around the energy, or if you don't bring the right energy or you don't bring the right attitude, we've all walked into meetings overconfident, and they're often the ones that go the worst. Whereas if I think about the meetings that I really cared about and the meetings that I really prepared for, or we really prepared for, if I think about some of those comparison of options, and you knew you were going in to face a bunch of tough stakeholders, and you needed to have your comparison matrix absolutely nailed down, and you needed to have your assumptions clear and transparent, and you even had the stuff behind that available, and you'd brought a couple of people who were able to answer all the questions. When when you know you're comfortable with the decision or the recommendation you're making, and you've got a solid grounding, half those times you don't actually get any questions, or you get 1 or 2. They'll kind of test you. Great, they know what they're talking about. I'll leave them to it. So it's that contrast between nervousness and effort, where you really put in the work, often means half of it's not needed in the meeting. Obviously, it's needed in order to come up with the right decision, versus the underinvestment or the overconfidence, which can often lead to a much poorer outcome. lack of trust, sends you back round again. You have to do it all again. And I think that's where, you know, disappointment and frustration can seep into the squad, as well as the stakeholders. And then likewise with the attitude piece, I mean, we've all dealt with tough stakeholders. They're there. We don't always understand the context that they're coming from, but we just don't want to be pouring fuel on the fire, right? We need to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem, and don't be afraid to call an early close to a meeting if it's not being productive, and if the objective of the meeting is not likely to be met, if we need to regroup at a different time where people are in the right space to be able to participate in a productive meeting. So I am conscious of time. I think I've got one more thing that I just wanted to share with you. The bonus. I've given you 3 things here, but I'll give you a bonus. The bonus superpower of the BA is having the courage to say, I don't know. Don't make it up. You'll always be asked more questions than you can answer. As I said, questions are free and answers cost money. People don't expect you or any of us to know all the questions, know all the answers to the questions. What's important is to have credible answers. So tell them what you know and tell them what you don't know. And then you can have a constructive discussion about, is it worth me going away and spending time finding out the answer to that or not? Was it, because half the time, some of these are just throwaway questions. Put a price tag on it. Say, sure, I can find that out for you, but it'll take half an hour or half a day or half a week or half a sprint. And just like most things, practice makes perfect. So humans are hardwired to answer questions, but it doesn't mean we have to answer yes. So the more we practice saying, I don't know, the easier it actually gets. Despite the fact that no is one of the most powerful and useful words in the product owner toolkit, it is one of the words that I have struggled to use, certainly in the past. And for a while there, I actually kept a list of things that I said no to in order to reinforce for myself that I was doing it and I could do it, and to feel good about myself at the end of the day. Oh, wow, look at all the things I really did say no to today. And I won't say it's completely easy all the time, but the more I do it, the better it does get and the better I get at it. So I would encourage you guys to use your BA superpower liberally and with confidence, and use it wisely. So look, that's the end of what I've had to share with you. So the 3 things that we've shared tonight around the data and providing options and assessment, and then bringing that energy and attitude to everything you do, bringing it when you need it. That's what I believe differentiates the best from the rest when it comes to the BAs that I have worked with as a PO. So I hope that was of value to you. I'm happy to stick around for a little bit if there are any questions from any of you. But otherwise, or regardless, I'd just really like to thank all of you and IIBA for having me on tonight. It's been fantastic to engage with you guys. You're a great bunch of people. But as I said, I'm super happy to stick around and answer any questions that any of you might have.
Thank you very much, Craig. And I definitely really enjoy the especially data-driven decision. I thought if we can all, as a BA, be able to provide context, essentially from my perspective, is whatever requirements or things we capture, we actually need to set the context. It should be supported by either process or data and things like that. And also the second thing is energy. I thought the right energy to turn up with the energy level always positive. And also, I don't know, the superpower. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So any questions? I'm sure Craig is happy to answer further questions if there are. Otherwise, connect with Craig on LinkedIn and also Craig's email.
Yep, that's the contact details there. I like to share things fairly regularly on my LinkedIn, their blog posts or videos. And as I said, a lot of the inspiration for some of these videos or blog posts come from questions that I receive from people. So if there's a topic that's dear to your heart or that you're struggling with, don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll do what I can to push it, to prioritize it on my backlog and bring it into the next sprint.
Okay, if there is no further questions.
Actually, I've got a quick question for you, Craig.
Excellent.
Go for it.
How do you draw the distinction between decisions that you can make yourself and decisions that you should pass to the product owner?
That's an art and a science. So I think what I would advocate very strongly is an open discussion. So let's say you're starting in a new squad. As a BA, you're joining a new squad. So you've not worked with the PO before. What I would strongly advocate is an open discussion really early up with them about how they like to work, how you like to work, and just to get an understanding of where they would feel the line is, because chances are in that situation you're probably replacing a BA who's moved on. I guess it could be different if the PO is brand new, but I guess the conversation's the same. What are you good at? What are they good at? Give them a couple of examples, or ask them for a couple of examples of where they feel they wouldn't need to be involved and would, and don't be afraid to push back, right? Because some people have a tendency to kind of leak and I guess drift into other people's areas. You've got to be the expert at what you do, and they've got to be the expert at what they do.
Thank you.
Okay.
One more there. Who's that?
Yeah.
Chris.
Chris.
Yeah. Hi, Chris from Brisbane here. So just to summarise tonight, Craig, thank you very much for all that. It's really been quite clarifying. I think the theme I got from that was the BA's role, above all else, perhaps, is to help the PO make decisions. Would that be a nice, succinct summary?
So that's my, that'd be my one floor elevator pitch, I think. Help the PO make better decisions.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Thanks very much for tonight.
Cool.
Okay. Before I close, I would like to also, as a call for, at the end of each event, we normally call for volunteers. We are constantly, because we are a volunteer organization, IIBA, we are always looking for quality volunteers so that we can provide further service and events like this for you, free of charge. So there is an expression of interest EOI form on the website as well. So if you are interested, feel free to fill in. And thank you very much for Craig for such a wonderful presentation, and it is extremely practical. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, and well done on all the great work.
The session is recorded. I believe, Craig, you will share the slides, and then we can.
Yeah, I can send them. I'll send them over to Vimal, I guess, and you feel free to distribute them.
Thank you. Diana.
Yeah.
Yeah, hands up.
One last thing from me. We spoke so much about good, better, best, greatness. I have posted in the chat window the links to the Business Analysis Excellence Awards. There are 4 categories. We are doing this for the first time this year in Australia. Please take time, go check the categories and think if you would like to nominate yourself or if you know a great person or a great team who should put their hand up for that. That's from me. Thank you.
Yes, yes, definitely. It's the first time in IIBA history. We have such a
In
award.
Australia. Yeah.
In Australia, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much and have a good evening to all of you. And then, keep an eye out to our next set of events, which was on our website as well. Okay.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.